You guys think what Tim Walz is doing in Minnesota is bad? Wait till you find out what Gavin Newsom has been doing in the state of California.
Billions of dollars have been spent only for the situation to get worse. Thousands.
Just down the hall from hospice, Atlantic Care Hospice is just a weird consulting business that's just empty with shredded documents.
Fraud has marked the end of Tim Walz's political career. It should also be the end of Gavin Newsom's, because the scale of what has occurred in California is unlike anywhere else.
California Congressman Kevin Kiley, he is sounding the alarm in his home state, saying under Governor Gavin Newsom's leadership, it has become the, quote, fraud capital of America.
Here's a look at that 92-page report. Newly added to the high-risk list is California's food stamp program. If the state doesn't get the improper payments under control, it could cost an extra $2.5 billion. Also on there is the Department of Finance, which was tasked with giving out COVID relief funds. Critics say $32 billion of that was taken by fraudsters.
Oh, there's massive fraud in California. I mean, the homelessness has just increased as they receive more money. And that's just one part of it. And like you talked about the light rail and everything like that, the fraud is like crazy in California, and they have the highest taxes.
Yeah, they want more.
Yeah.
Nick, has anybody approached you about this thing? I tweeted it about it. I had never heard about it, but these guys educated me on it, called Quitan, which is this framework where you can actually sue on behalf of the state and on behalf of taxpayers.
Something is very wrong in California. We're talking billions of taxpayer dollars just disappeared, and no one can clearly explain where it went.
You guys think what Tim Walz is doing in Minnesota is bad? Wait till you find out what Gavin Newsom has been doing in the state of California, because a new report has come out that estimates that there's about $76 billion in fraud coming from California. During the COVID pandemic, Gavin Newsom's former chief of staff was indicted on 23 counts of bank and wire fraud in November 2025, tied to campaign finance abuses. Oh, and this adds to the growing list of insider dealings out of Newsom's administration, because it's all fraud. It's all a scam for them to get rich off of. It's almost like Trump hired a group of very, very smart people to find all this fraud, waste, and abuse for a reason. It's almost like it's real, and it's worse than we can imagine.
We are in Oakland right now. The country is considered to be the most underdeveloped, poverty-stricken, marginalized regions of the world, often characterized by populations with little to no political connection, living in nomadic communities or as part of tribes. Extreme poverty. This is not the America we grew up in. I mean, if my grandparents were alive, they would be sick to their stomachs.
Do you think it looks good to the taxpayer for an assembly member who is also the wife of the Attorney General to lead a committee that oversees his budget and other departments?
I literally don't know what you're referring to.
Assemblymember Mia Bonta is set to lead the Budget Sub-5 Committee on Public Safety. I mean, the Attorney General oversees ethics.
We've covered fraud in Minnesota. We've covered fraud in Ohio. We talked about Washington. But in California, it might be in a league of its own. So many issues with fraud: homeless money, pandemic relief, welfare programs, infrastructure disasters, agencies that can't track the spending, nonprofits that appear, collect millions, and then vanish. And the governor during all of this? Gavin Newsom, the same Gavin Newsom that probably wants to be the president, the same Gavin Newsom that argued against the lockdown rules in 2020 while sneaking off to elite dinners like the rules don't apply to him. We're going to talk about this guy, and we're going to ask one simple question. How can you run for president when your own state can't find the receipts for anything? Let's get into it.
Taxpayers have forked over tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of dollars to fix it. And people are stealing it?
It's unbelievable. And, you know, it's probably been going on for a very long time, but unfortunately, no one's really looked at it until recently. Before this position, I was in the state legislature, and we would ask a lot of questions about the billions of dollars being spent every year to solve homelessness. And we can all see with our eyes and ears that it wasn't being solved, and the money wasn't going to the people who needed it most. So one of the first things I did after being appointed as the U.S. Attorney here in L.A. was to create the Homeless Fraud and Corruption Task Force. We were starting from the bottom up, and we began brand new investigations with the IRS and the FBI, and it's already culminated in 2 separate indictments, and I can assure you that more will come.
In the 2 indictments you've announced thus far, in one case, somebody was taking this money that was meant to build homes for the homeless and spending it on things like tickets to Coachella concert, jewelry, and a Beverly Hills mansion.
It's frankly outrageous, and this goes to show when you hand out billions of dollars with little to no oversight, there are people out there that will take advantage, and that's always been our suspicion, is that there's been very little oversight or accountability to the individuals who receive this money. Most of the money goes out to nonprofits or developers who claim they're going to use the money to build housing. And what we saw in these 2 investigations, that's not where the money went, and it was used to pay one individual's American Express bill. In these 2 cases represent over a $50 million loss, and that's again scratching the surface. We have many more investigations open that I cannot get into, but we are going to follow the money. We're going to follow every dollar, and we want to make sure the money went to its intended objective, which is to assist the homeless. And if any of it was diverted for personal use or other use that wasn't authorized, we intend to criminally prosecute those individuals.
California has spent $24 billion since 2018 to address the ever-growing homeless population in the state. The homeless population has only increased by 26% since 2018, and they're spending like $100,000 per homeless person. So how does that work? Fraud, scam, $24 billion.
So the alleged fraud that's happened in California is multifaceted. It's multiple different types of programs. Let's talk about the homeless money scam pipeline. California poured tens of billions of dollars into homelessness programs. And if you've been to California or you've been on Skid Row, anywhere those areas, you know that obviously that money went nowhere. Federal prosecutors stepped in and found real cases where the money meant for housing allegedly went, and it went to luxury lifestyles instead. Developers were charged, nonprofits were investigated, millions of dollars were diverted, housing barely built or never started. Some groups stacked shell nonprofits at the same address, same people, different names, multiple agencies billing for overlapping services, hospice, outreach, consulting, all under one roof.
All right, you guys, so I had to actually get my way in here because the numbers weren't working to be paged in, but look at what this is uncovering. Hospice, home health care, Allegiance Home Health, Honeywell Home Health, Wellspring Home Health, Golden Touch Home Health, Amazing Health, Dignity Care Hospice, Moonlight Hospice Incorporated, Thousand Oaks Hospice Incorporated, Premier Home Care Agency, Altruistic Hospice Incorporated, Capital Hospice Care Incorporated. Some of those don't even have signs on their doors, and the ones that did weren't answering or had a Ring camera. There were 2 people that were actually in the office. They gave me brochures and numbers, so we're gonna find out what's going on. Just down the hall from hospice, Atlantic Care Hospice, is just a weird consulting business that's just empty with shredded documents. There's nothing suspect going on here. Okay, if you guys want to enroll your elder family member, it's definitely the spot, for sure.
It was like fraud being built at some kind of shopping plaza. And audits admitted that California couldn't track billions of dollars in homelessness funds. Not missing paperwork, just totally missing accountability. That's why the feds stepped in.
Now, if anybody knows the sort of damage that this man can do to anything he gets his hands on, it is somebody who grew up in the Bay Area, or more specifically within the greater San Francisco region. That's this guy right here. Now, I want y'all to check something out. Now, just to give y'all a quick example, let's go ahead and check this out. In January of 2024, California had 187,000 homeless individuals, the highest of any state within these United States. Now, to some of y'all, that sounds maybe unfortunate, maybe even depressing, hopeless. But to me and other folks out in Cali, this sounds like corruption, stealing, allegedly. See, turns out that more than $20 billion were spent in an effort to eradicate homelessness. However, numbers have risen with reports highlighting a lack of accountability in tracking funds. Y'all want to see fraud on a different scale? Make your way over to Cali. Now, when our president says something like this, California under Governor New Scum or New Scam is more corrupt than Minnesota, if that's possible. The fraud investigation of California has begun.
Well, there is the Department of Finance, which was tasked with giving out COVID relief funds. Critics say $32 billion of that was taken by fraudsters.
And we could also see about the billions of dollars being wasted during the pandemic unemployment. That basically became an ATM. When COVID hit, California rushed unemployment payments really fast. Seemed like it's too fast. Fraud exploded, fake identities, criminal rings, even inmates filing claims. Inmates filing claims for unemployment. Of course they're unemployed. They're in jail. The state mailed checks directly to the prisons. I can't make that up. Real people, real residents, waited months while scammers cashed out instantly. Audits later confirmed that tens of billions of dollars were lost to fraudulent claims. California accidentally ran the most generous fraud stimulus program in America. So when you talk about the level of fraud, yes, Minnesota is pretty bad, but California is on a different level. It's possible this state has the most money lost due to fraud.
California's food stamp program has one of the highest improper payment rates in the nation at 13.4%. But it's estimated that at least 15% of the benefits on that program fraudulent. Where does the money go? Oh yeah, to NGOs, to corrupt people who line their pockets with our tax dollars.
King of welfare fraud? No. Gavin Newsom's like, hold my beer, buddy. Newsom has a far worse record when it comes to allowing billions and billions of fraud through negligence and mismanagement. Intentional, in my opinion. It's so bad that it has to be intentional. It gets worse than that. In order to pay out all these fraudulent benefits, Newsom took out a loan from the federal government. And right now, that loan remains unpaid. We're talking about $20 billion worth of outstanding federal IOU notes for unemployment welfare payouts. And now Newsom has to pay it back.
We're hearing from watchdogs and agencies inside California that, yes, billions of dollars of taxpayer money has been stolen. In fact, during COVID, it was at least $50 billion in jobless benefits.
California's SNAP and aid programs have some of the highest improper payment rates around. Large systems with weak controls and basically no verification. They don't even know the full fraud total. And that's the scary problem. If you can't even measure the loss, you can't control the theft. Fraud loves confusion. And when eligibility checks are rushed or outdated, fraudsters are slipping through using stolen identities, duplicate enrollments, and fake household filings. Investigators have flagged areas where benefits are issued to people living out of state, multiple cards tied to the same applicant, and organized groups allegedly trafficking EBT funds like it's cash. Layer in the overwhelmed county offices, backlogged verification, and nonprofit intermediaries handling intake, and suddenly the system starts to hand out benefits faster than it can confirm who's real and who isn't.
Another $18 billion has been spent to build a high-speed train. Problem is, nothing exists. They've built nothing. There's nothing to show from $18 billion. It's like the joke, the high-speed train to nowhere, but you can't even get on it and go nowhere because it doesn't exist.
Now let's talk about this high-speed rail situation. So apparently billions were spent on a train that barely exists. Not labeled necessarily criminal, but extremely incompetent, and it seemed like it's a catastrophic mismanagement. Taxpayers funded a promise. Got delays and empty land. Trust dies where money vanishes with nothing to show for it. The project was pitched as this modern miracle, a bullet train connecting major cities, cutting traffic time, creating jobs, and making California look like the future. Instead, costs exploded year after year after year after deadlines kept moving like a goalpost on wheels. What started as a bold infrastructure dream slowly turned into one of the most expensive, unfinished public projects in U.S. history. Segments were approved, land was cleared, billions of dollars was allocated, but large portions remained incomplete or delayed far beyond original timelines. Every new report sounds the same. More money is needed, more revisions, more time. It's like paying for a brand new car and 5 years later, they're still showing you the blueprint. And while this hasn't been necessarily labeled fraud, it raises some painful questions taxpayers keep asking across every single California program. Where did the money actually go? Consultants were paid, contracts were extended, bureaucracy laid on top of bureaucracy, so someone was getting paid. The spending kept moving even when the rails didn't. When government asks for billions of dollars and produce nothing usable, it feels like the public is just financing incompetence with no refund policy. And this nonsense just bleeds directly to every other scandal that we're talking about here. Because once voters see one massive money pit, they start to wonder how many others are hiding in plain sight. Every single department falls under Governor Gavin Newsom. These programs happen under his watch. Leadership means responsibility. California needs investigations, it needs transparency, it needs answers, not politics, not speeches going back and forth with Trump. Because you think about it for a second, California is in a bad spot. There's all types of issues going on, and everyday people are just leaving California. It's one of the few states, along with New York, where people are just leaving. It's too expensive. Crime is out of control. You can go to other places and get a better life. But Gavin Newsom has bigger plans. Like I said, I think the man is going to try to run for president. But before Newsom asked the entire country to trust him with the White House, Californians deserve to know what happened to the billions of dollars. Figure that out first. Get that situated first before you decide to run for president. Let me know what you guys think about this story in the comments below. Thank you for taking time to watch this video, and I'll see you guys in the next video.